Victor, glad that you're getting to share with the community. Will you give a quick kind of introduction of who you are and how you help entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so my name is Victor Pierantoni. I am a peak performance coach. I help professionals and entrepreneurs eliminate anxiety, burnout, and self-sabotage, replacing it with unshakable inner peace and confidence. That way you're able to make more money, but also enjoy the process of working in your business and learn along the way. Learn the key wisdom and lessons that you'll need to do better, not just in your business, but also in your personal life. So I like to look at things as a more holistic system. So as a peak performance coach, one thing that you and I were chatting offline here is that I like to look at business like a sport, right? The industry that you're in is the specific sport that you're in. The field is the actual business that you have. And then the ball is the attention of your customers. And there's all kinds of cool tactics and strategies that one can learn to get better at all these aspects of the game of your business. Where I specialize in is helping how you play off the field of your business so that every time you show up invigorated, you show up fulfilled and energized, able to drive home the results that you've set out for.
That's great. Yeah. And so maybe even extending that metaphor, you're kind of like, you're helping us with our business nutrition. Yes. And our business recovery and all those good things, our business training in a sense.
That's right.
Yeah. No, I like it. All right, well, let's dive in and kind of walk through some of these different stages here. All right, so we've walked through kind of all of our different stages here. Well, not all but one of our existential to discovery to adoption to sustainability and then scaling up to saturation. So the last stage really isn't it's not a stage that happens later. It's really what it's kind of not a stage. It's like the stage prime, but it can happen anywhere along the way. So that's our event stage. And so that can happen anywhere that there becomes a major shift, either in the business or in the market. So this could be early on in the discovery or adoption, you decide to partner with somebody. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. This isn't my solo thing. I'm going to partner with one or two people and we're going to do this together. Or it could be you're going along and, suddenly hypothetically, there's a global pandemic and, you were doing a business that involved events and suddenly the market has shifted dramatically. And you're like, oh, okay, what I was selling, there's no longer a market for it all, but suddenly there's a market for distributed online events. And so you're going to have to pivot. So it can be external, it can be internal, it can be good, it could be a hostile takeover, it could be selling the business and exiting in a really positive way. So there's a lot of ways events can happen, but when those events, and some of them we plan for, some of them are unexpected. So, but when a entrepreneur is facing one of those events, what are some questions they need to be asking themselves, or some potential pitfalls they need to be aware of that if their mindset isn't quite right, they might really fall into those pits?
I think that's a great question. And it comes back to our first exercise that we started with, which was curiosities into passions, problems into purpose, strength and wisdom. When you bring all of those together, in my business, I call it your Tao of impact, which is like your way of impact or your path of impact, like what you're here to do in the world. The idea for me was inspired by, like, that structure of things was inspired by Stephen Kotler, who wrote The Art of Impossible. And him and Peter Diamandis, they call that the massively transformative purpose. I just changed the language on it for my brand, but it's a similar idea with a few differences and variations. But the point of a massively transformative purpose, or the point of doing that inner drive exercise, as your foundation. And you can do that at any stage, right, to get clear, because what it'll do is it'll show you how to make decisions in unexpected events. And so you would weigh your decision on that inner drive exercise that you've done for yourself. But like, does this, like, okay, if I continue the business here, do I still get to embody and live and fulfill that purpose? Or does it not allow me to do it because I have to pivot and do something else? Maybe then I need to sell it and then move on into another business or another endeavor that allows me to live that purpose. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to create your intrinsic drive and allow you to stay motivated, stay inspired, stay enthusiastic in anything that you do. So you use that exercise as your decision-making filter. It's what shows you what is an opportunity versus what is a distraction. Because as individuals, I believe that we all have a purpose. We all have something that we're meant to do. And if you stick to that, you'll always be on the right path, regardless of how life unfolds and what gets put in front of you.
That's good. That is a helpful paradigm to use to be able to kind of measure, like, okay, this is where I was, but with any event, something's going to change. And so evaluating, like, well, how do I think about that? How does my impact, my purpose, my passion play into this potential new future? And then how do I want to navigate accordingly? Versus just, well, I'll just do what it happened to me. I'll go kind of fatalistically into it, or like it's new so it's bad, or it's new so it's good, which can also be some unconsidered paths to walk. So no, it's really helpful. I appreciate that, Victor. Okay, so since we've kind of now actually walked through all the stages, is there any sort of, I mean, you kind of did this a little bit just now in talking about the events, but just thinking about kind of looking at that whole journey, any overarching themes that you want to call out, or any encouragements that you'd want to give to entrepreneurs who are kind of anywhere along that journey, but just kind of looking at it as a whole?
I think some of the most important themes, like from what we've spoken about, is knowing how to manage your energy. And you manage your energy with your choices, what you choose to engage in versus not engage in, and the activities that you do, right? So energy management, I think, is one of the most important things. And when I say energy, I mean, does whatever you're doing create a natural enthusiasm? Does it make you want to think bigger? Does it make you want to serve more? That's when you know something is energizing, because you have this abundance to give and you want to help people and you want to do more of the things that you're doing. So energy management, I think, is one of the number one things. The other thing too is be a student of your results, not your ideals. Be a student of what the market is telling you, right? If you're so attached to your ideals that you won't listen to your customer, then you're in love with your product. You're not in love with your customer. And you want to be in love with your customer and be able to fulfill those needs and really delight them and dazzle them. So I think that's a really important thing. And, understand what it is that you're here to do. And you can find what that is by doing that exercise that we talked about, going through your curiosities, finding the intersections, which are your passions, going through the problems that you see in the world, and then the ones and the themes in there, that's going to be purpose. Bringing those together, bringing in what are your top strengths that have allowed you to achieve biggest things in your life. And then what is the wisdom that has guided you along the way that has made things possible for you to overcome some of the most difficult things. And when you bring those all together, you have your own personal purpose, your own reason for being. And if you use that as your decision-making filter, you will always be able to cut through the noise. You'll know who you are, and you'll know when something is an opportunity versus a distraction.
I love that. No, that is really good, because there's a lot to navigate in that journey. And so those are some really helpful guiding principles there. So, well, cool. Here, as we kind of recap, just some fun facts. Okay, most impactful book that you've read in the past year?
Oh my goodness. Most
or
impactful,
an impactful book. Maybe it doesn't have to be the premier impactful.
So I would say the most impactful book, and I studied this thing for months, was The Tao of Solomon is what it's called. So it is a book that is a reimagining of Ecclesiastes and written by a rabbi named Rami Shapiro. And this rabbi also studied a lot of Zen. He studied a lot of Taoism. So he weaves in all this perennial wisdom from different different religious faiths and different schools of thought. And he uses Ecclesiastes as this tool for helping bring together these very important truths, which are the truth of impermanence, and how no matter how hard you work and how much money you make, you're never going to buy your way out of impermanence. And so you treat impermanence with a reverence and realize that everything is meaningful because it's not going to last forever. the relationships I have, the people I get to serve, the beauty and the joy in my life. I'm going to enjoy it while it's here. And rather than, one of the lines in there is like, better to have, one hand empty and full of joy than two hands full of toil. It's like, yeah, like enjoy what you're doing. Like, yes, earn your stuff, get successful, but don't do it at the cost of your heart and your soul. So that was the most impactful book for me. And it just completely changed the way I thought about business, the way I thought about money, and the way I thought about just being able to enjoy my life and enjoy the present moments with the people I love.
No, I love that. That's so good. Any just kind of, if you could tell an entrepreneur kind of one thing when it comes to mindset and performance, what would that be?
One thing.
Just
if you remember nothing else from this interview, remember this: start your day with what is most meaningful. If that is all you do, it will change and shape your day in a very profound way that leaves you feeling empowered and getting things done at the same time. You're going to feel empowered, enthusiastic, and productive by just doing that. Just starting your day with 30 to 120 minutes of the most meaningful thing that you can think of for your life in this.
I love that. That's really good. Well, I appreciate, Victor. It really does come through that you have both spent a large amount of time considering and forming your insight and your understanding, but also that pairs with your desire to really see people thrive. And so appreciate you taking the time to share that with our audience, with people who are at all these different kind of stages of business and trying to grow and trying to, both grow their business, but also hopefully grow their impact, which is something, what we've been talking about here. So really appreciate you sharing. I'm glad to be able to bring this to the community.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to get to do this interview.